understand alignment, you have to understand what it does. There's actually three things: camber, caster, and toe. And camber is the tire tips outward at the top, that's positive. If it tips inward, that's negative. Now caster is if it tips backwards, it's positive, and that's what we want. We want a lot of positive caster. So here's the three elements. There's negative camber would be tipped into top. Positive camber would be tipped out at the top. Toe in is exactly what it says. It's pointing inward, and toe out is pointing outward. And you always either have to have toe in or toe out to make the car track well. And then caster, the negative caster is if the strut leans forward, that's negative caster. If the strut leans backwards, that's positive caster. Positive caster is what you want. If you had negative caster, what would happen? Have you ever had a shopping cart where you're rolling along and one of the wheels keeps vibrating back and forth? Well, that's what happens when you don't have enough caster. You lose the caster and the wobble. Well, the same thing would happen with your wheel. So, I mean, I love caster. All my Mustangs put absolute maximum caster in. Doesn't matter if it's different side to side. All the caster will take, it goes in there for a lot of reasons. One, I mean, it just helps the front suspension geometry a ton. It gives you great straight line stability. But basically, I mean, it's pretty much the same. There's always the street and track. Now, I'm going to go through the street setup for Fox SN95. I like it around -1 degree negative camber in the front, maximum caster, and then for toe, I like toe out. Not a lot, just a little, 1/16 of an inch total toe out, or -0.25 to -0.3 toe out. Why do I like toe out? Because what it does, it helps the car turn in. It gives you great turn in when you go into a corner. For the S197s, we'll go a little bit more, maybe a degree and a quarter. But again, maximum caster, all the caster will take, and then that little bit of toe out, 16th toe out. And then on the 550s, I actually take a little more, -1 to -0.4. And then again, same toe out. Now, on going back to SN95 for the IRS cars in the back, I like to run -1.2 degrees negative camber. That seems to work really, really well. And then instead of toe out at the back on IRS car, you toe in. So toe out at the front, IRS, toe in at the back. And the same thing for the 550 cars, -1.2 negative camber, and then toe in. Now, when you get to the track, I mean, typically, how much camber you run at the track all boils down to, there's a lot of factors involved. How sticky your tires are, the spring rates you have. And the thing is that what I tell people is I'll give them a starting, but you really need to use your parameter to figure out how much camber you need or don't need. Typically, now on my cars, when they go to the track, they're going to have -2.5 on the hot side. If it's a clockwise track, -2.5 on the left side and -2 on the right side. And then from there, then we start working on using, well, first we use the parameter to get our tire pressure set. Once the tire pressures are set, and we'll look at the temperatures to get the camber right. I like about around 10-15 degrees warmer on the inside than the outside. Always run a little bit of negative camber, and keep adjusting the camber in and out until you're running that in that range. If you got more than 20 degrees difference inside to out, then if it's 20 degrees hotter on the inside than the outside, you need to take a little bit camber out. That's by standing the strut straight up. If it's about even, you need to drop a little camber in, negative camber in. So that's kind of the alignment specs. And then the only way to tell it on track is to use a parameter and see what the tires are telling you. And that's what we every car, like I run. Of course, if you've got like soft factory springs, it's probably going to take more negative camber because the car is going to roll so much. The Mustang has what's called a positive roll front suspension, which means the more the car rolls, the more the front wheel wants to go positive. And we just saw positive is not what you want. So that's why we add extra camber, so when it does roll, the tire comes flat. But if you're running like factory springs, it's probably going to roll a lot more. And the thing is you really don't want to get beyond 3 degrees negative camber. I've talked to people that run 3.5 degrees negative camber, and it's like, that's not right. A lot of tire manufacturers don't like that, one. Secondly, when you're going down the straightaway with that much negative camber, I mean, you're missing a whole big portion of the footprint of the front tires when you go to brake. So, I mean, you don't have a lot of front tire to brake. That's why I like it in that 2 to 2.5 degrees negative camber.